So you've just got to episode 2 and you've just done the spider's nest quest so you can remote bank all your logs. Or you just want to do it the Iron Man masochist way and cut all your own logs for 32 carpentry and you want to run all the way down to the carpenter's workshop lumber bank. Either way is fine, but what I'm here to tell you is the most efficient tree cutting route for each type of tree. In these routes, by the time you've cut the final tree and made your way back to the first tree, it will have respawned, giving you non-stop tree cutting action. There are 8 types of trees: the ash tree, the oak tree, the pine tree, the hickory tree, the juniper tree, the poplar tree, the suave tree, and the yew tree. The first tree you'll be cutting is the ash tree here in Timberwell Green. You'll be working your way through these 5 trees. Now the route here is pretty simple. There are 6 trees on the map that you can see, and then you just want to start at this tree or whichever tree you want really and just make your way around. It's pretty simple. And you can just do that to level 10. That's what I did because it's really close to the lumber bank. Let's move on to the oak trees. So for the oak trees, you're going to want to come up all the way to the north area here where you've got Stump Clearing, Canopy Lane and Canopy Junction. The only problem is it's very far north. It's possibly the furthest away tree from the carpenter's workshop, which is where the lumber bank is. And you're gonna have a very difficult time every time you've got a full invent running all the way back down there. Anyway, once you're here, start with this tree in Stump Clearing, and then you want to cut this one down next. And then after this one, you want to make your way into Canopy Lane, where there will be one more tree. And then when you've felled that tree, you want to make your way up into Canopy Junction, where there is 2 more oak trees, here and here. And by the time you've cleared those trees, this oak tree here will have respawned. And by the time you've chopped this tree down and made your way to this tree, it will have respawned like that. And if you've got the bank storage unlocked, you can just go to the storage rift here and then bank your logs like so. So let's move on to the pine logs. Now for the pine logs, they are just south of the oak trees, just below the portal stone, so you're probably better off just teleporting to the portal stone if you've got it unlocked and then just running down through past the wendigos. Be careful not to get hit by them, otherwise you'll have to cast the immunity spell. So what you want to do is you just want to chop down the 3 pine trees in Fern Junction here. And then when you're done with those 3 trees, you want to make your way into this zone, into the lumber clearing zone, and chop down these 2 trees to the north of the zone. It's right next to Fern Junction, so they're all pretty close together. But by the time you've chopped down the last 5th tree and made your way back to the first tree up in Fern Junction, it'll have respawned. And then when you've got a full invent, you can just make your way to the storage rift here, pass through the wendigos. And if you don't have the storage rifts, you have to run all the way down here to the carpenter's workshop. It's not that far away. It's not as bad as the oak tree, so it's still quite feasible. Alright, let's move on to the hickory logs, which are going to be near to the oak trees. So this one's fairly easy. You want to make your way to the secluded path zone, right next to the secluded junction zone. And what you want to do is just alternate between the 3 trees in each zone. And by the time you've chopped down the last tree and made your way over to the first tree, it will have respawned along with all the other trees. So I've chopped down the last tree here. If I make my way back to the secluded path, it's respawned. And if you want a bank, there's a storage rift just above it, which is the same one you'll be using for the oak logs. And if you don't have that, you'll be making your way all the way back down to the carpenter's workshop. So let's move on to the juniper trees. And here we are at the juniper trees. They are right next to Timberwell Green in Treeline Trail. These are actually pretty decent because if you just do the ash trees to level 10 at the start of your grind, you can go straight onto the juniper trees, and they're not too far from the lumber bank. So what you want to do is you want to chop down the 3 trees in Treeline Trail, and then you want to come down to this zone and you want to chop the 3 trees down in this one. And by the time you've made your way back up to Treeline Trail, they will have respawned, and you just keep doing that until your invent is full, and then you run around to the lumber bank here, even if you've got the storage rift crest, because it is the closest bank. So let's make our way back up to Treeline Trail, and the first tree should have respawned. And there you go, the first tree has respawned. You could even try it with 5 trees or 6 trees, and you'll probably get the same result, and you'll have less running to do. Now, the best way to do the poplar trees is to just stick to this one room in the logging area and just make a big circle around these poplar trees. They take long enough to get to that by the time you've got down the 4th tree and made your way back to the first one, it'll have respawned. And just like that, and the same second that I got to the tree, it respawned, so it works out perfectly. Now, to bank for these, there isn't really any close bank portals around. The closest one is probably going to be down at Huntsman's Path or down at Tangled Path up here. Tangled Path is probably better because you don't have to cross through aggressive monsters. So it's probably better off just to go up to Tangled Path here. And if you don't have remote banking, you're going to have to run all the way down here. Now for Suave trees, I don't know if it's pronounced Suave or Suave, you're going to go all the way east here to the crystal clearing, and you're going to start off with this tree in the overgrown trail, and then you're going to make your way into the crystal clearing chunk where there's going to be 3 more trees. And by the time you've chopped down the 3 trees in here and made your way back to this one, it's going to be respawned. And the good thing about this is that by the time you've done 6 laps and you've chopped down this tree, you're going to be right next to the storage rift, so you can just bank your logs straight away. Unless, of course, you don't have the quest. And then you're going to have to run all the way to the other end of the map. So I highly recommend that you do not do these trees if you don't have remote banking. So we've chopped the last tree down there, and then let's make our way back over to the first tree. And it's respawned. I mean, you can chop it down if your invent's full. You can just go straight to this storage rift here and then carry on with your tree chopping until you've got as many as you want. Okay, let's move on to U logs. You are going to need a 2-person saw. You do not need a second person to operate it. You can operate it by yourself. So you're going to find U trees all the way over here by the bears. Now you want to make your way to bear clearing, as there are enough trees in this one zone to keep going as long as you can, as long as you want to. And to demonstrate it, I'm just going to do it. So don't forget to buy a 2-handed saw. It is about 64 silver. But once you got that, just make your way to the bear clearing and get chopping. They do take a bit longer to chop than normal trees, but the extra XP makes up for it. Okay, I'm on the final U tree now, and the first one has just respawned. So there's no waiting around, and you can just keep going as long as you want. And when it comes to banking, there's a storage rift over on the east here in the Tangled Path. If you don't have the quest, you have to run all the way down here to the Carpenter's Workshop, but it is a straight shot south with no aggressive monsters, so it's not that bad of a run. Alright, thanks for watching the video, guys. I do have my own Let's Play series of this game. It's absolutely fantastic, and I'm loving it. So go give that a watch, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Ciao!